Welcome to Just Listen and our review of the last album by Dr. Lonnie Smith, the 2021 album Breathe. Dr. Lonnie Smith was one of the leading organists in jazz. His distinctive music, which he created with Hammond B-3 organ, inspired many other musicians, even a whole new genre of acid jazz in the 1990s. The turban that he wore from the mid-1970s on, he refused to comment on for a long time, until in a radio interview he said that he wore the turban as a symbol of universal spirituality, love and respect. Lonnie Smith's playful music style grew from soulful R&B to fusion and funk. Most of his early childhood music influence came from his mother, who introduced him to gospel, soul and jazz. As a kid, Lonnie Smith started as a singer in a group that had also saxophonist Grover Washington Jr., his childhood friend. But the best memory is the one Lonnie Smith remembered for his whole life, as a defining moment of his musical career. Smith was just 20 years old when he began working at a tiny music store operated by Art Kubera. "Could I ask you a question, son?" he said. "What makes you come here every day and sit and sit?" In an interview, Lonnie Smith recounted the incident. "Well, sir, if I had an instrument, I could learn to play it. I could make a livelihood if I could learn to play it. So I walked in one day," Lonnie Smith recounts, "and he shut the store down and said, 'Follow me.' I accompanied him and he opened the rear door of his house. There was a nice new B3 organ in the room. 'If you can get this out of here, it's yours,' he said." Smith referred to Kubera as "my angel" for the rest of his life. Smith developed a style that blended church organ traditions with the jazz of the Hammond pioneers. After playing with George Benson and alto saxophonist Lou Donaldson, he received a contract to record for Blue Note. It didn't provide much financial success though. Backing the more well-known musicians like Marvin Gaye, Gladys Knight and Etta James provided Smith with financial security. Still, he stopped actively performing in the 1980s. The organist returned to jazz in the 1990s after the start of the acid jazz movement in London, brought his organ grooves back to the spotlight by new artists sampling his work. Lonnie Smith continued to work with saxophonist Javon Jackson, guitarist Peter Bernstein and many others. His last recording is this album, Breathe, the fantastic album that we talk about today, released in March 2021, just 6 months before his death at the age of 79.
Everybody wants to live together. Why can't they be together?
This was the opening track of the album that you just heard a small fragment of, due to YouTube limitations on copyright. One of the most unusual duos for sure, Lonnie Smith with Iggy Pop. Who would expect something like that? It was actually on Iggy Pop's initiative that they came together to play. The last track of the album, Sunshine Superman, also features Iggy Pop. Here is an excerpt from Blue Note president Don Woz' conversation with Iggy Pop about the collaboration with Lonnie Smith.
I should mention to everybody that this collaboration, which really came out so well, was your idea. You pulled me aside in Detroit a few years ago and suggested I call Doc and arrange for the two of you to record together. What prompted this?
Well, there was a guy named Ben Ratliff, who was for a time the jazz critic in the New York Times. Ben's a nice guy, and he kept trying to push me in a growth direction. He said, "There's this guy, Lonnie Smith, and you should think about doing something with him." And I listened to Live at Club Harlem. Whoa, I mean, that's funkier. It's funkier than James Brown. You know, it's amazing. And I started checking out his music, also the stuff with the Daptones. And he lives in Fort Lauderdale. He was going to play about an hour and a half drive from Miami, where I live. So we made a pilgrimage, my wife and I. I wrote to Ben and I said, what am I going to do? Like carry this guy's turban, you know, because he's really good, you know. And I'm like, you know, I'm a rock singer. But I went to see him play at an art center in Delray Beach. The crowd was ranged from very earnest, artsy older people to just like older people who wanted a night out and have a munch while they watched something good. And he came out, and it was both musically excellent with the trio and also great theater. He's a great entertainer. He has this sinister smile that he does when he's playing live, you know, because you know what, like, you know what ingratiating, but he comes out, he's okay, I'm not just going to slink in here and play background music. He's the center of attention in the turban with this Cheshire cat smile kind of thing he has. And he just played his butt off.
The album features live recordings, bookended, as already mentioned, by 2 studio performances with Iggy Pop. Sound quality is excellent, as we can expect from Blue Note, an icon in the realm of music recording labels. First of these live recordings is the second track, Bright Eyes. Like the opening, Why Can't We Live Together, it is also full of energy and rhythm. It features a fiery solo by tenor saxophonist John Ellis. Lonnie Smith plays in his well-known honey-dripping, full-bodied style. Things cool down a notch on Too Damn Hot, third track of the album. Just outstanding, relaxed playing by Lonnie Smith fills the space, and the warm sound wraps around the listener as a warm summer night. Perfect tune to sit back in the evening, relax, and reflect on your day. Though in the later part of the composition, things do get moving quite a bit. And by the audience reaction, you can feel how enjoyable and engaging this performance was. Hammond organ jazz at its best. A very important ingredient to these potent and dynamic recordings is the drummer Jonathan Blake, whose versatility perfectly follows and enhances Smith's musical ideas. Smith's signature composition, Pilgrimage, is another great track to mention. Alicia Olatuja's singing and guitar by Jonathan Kreisberg form a somewhat different sound from the rest of the album. Calmer, slower mood, certainly gospel-oriented, wonderfully accented by trio of horns, tenor saxophone by John Ellis, trombone by Robin Eubanks, and trumpet by Sean Jones.
Walking down the road with a good...
Dr. Lonnie Smith is one of a slew of talented and funky organists that followed in the footsteps of Jimmy Smith, the guy who essentially plays the Hammond organ on the music scene. This was the third release by Lonnie Smith for Blue Note since returning to the label after nearly 50 years absence. Check out 2 previous albums, 2016 Evolution and 2018 All in My Mind. Both brilliant albums, no less than Breathe. This is an excellent record not only because of the key soloists' performances, but also because of the tight group sound when the band is in septet mode and Jonathan Blake's breathtaking but delicate drumming from the beginning to the end. A link to Songwhip will take you directly to Breathe on major streaming platforms. As always, thank you for watching.